man who covers this team for ESPN.com. We wrote a great story on Vic Fangio, by the way, a couple of days ago. He joins us on the Comcast Business Hotline, as he does every Friday. He is the great Tim McManus. Hello, Timmy.
What's up, Mike? How you doing today?
Fantastic, Tim. Now, early in the show, I tried to purge any worry that they would have. I want me to go down the list here. The passing game, Jurgen's health, Quignon's health, Jalen's health, the game 2 for Oren Burks, team of destiny factor for the Commanders. AJ's only had a couple of catches, and Jake Elliott, the kicker. Should we be worried about any of these, and what's the update on whether those injured guys are going to play?
Well, we wouldn't be Philadelphians if we weren't worrying a little bit, right? So, but in terms of those specific things, let's look at the injuries. So some good news, as Cam Jurgens and Dallas Goedert were both on the practice field today. Both of those guys missed the first 2 days of practice. Goedert because of an ankle, Jurgens because of a back, which is not exactly the type of injury you want for an offensive lineman. But Jurgens walked into the practice facility today, was taking part in warm-ups. We'll see if he's listed as limited or full, but the fact that he and Goddard are back on the field. Positive development for the Eagles. Quinion Mitchell has been practicing this week. Jalen Hurts was listed as a full participant. I don't know if he's going to be 100%, and that goes for a lot of these guys, Mike, but it looks like they're going to have at least, most of their guys out there in this title game.
All right, well, that's good news. And, I don't think they're going to be weak in condition. Guys that play a little banged up, they manage to find full strength when they're actually in a game. So we're all good. So what do we need here to worry about? The Commanders don't stop the run, and the Eagles are going to run the football. I can't imagine that there would be any specific plan to stop Saquon Barkley. So what are the Eagles faced with here?
So Hurts is still a question mark for me. I mean, he's gonna be out there, but if you saw after he got that sack in the third quarter against the Rams last week, he wasn't functioning nearly at the same level. He had 6 carries for 71 yards before that sack, and the only carry he had after the fact was a kneel down to end the game. And you saw that he was more statuesque than normal, including on that safety. And so I have watched him a little bit during the limited amount of time we're out there on the practice field this week, and he doesn't look like that. Like he's moving around, and we saw him working on rollouts and those kind of things. So I don't think he's going to be totally limited in mobility, but I think it's a little bit of a different question. Is he going to be sort of full bore Jalen Hurts? And that's a big deal, because if the Eagles decide, we got to get him through the game, and we don't think he's going to be that effective as a runner, I think Washington will pick up on that pretty quick, and they're going to sell out even more than they already would with Saquon Barkley. If he does get hit in the game and that knee flares up, is it going to affect his plant leg? So I guess I'm not all the way there with you quite yet. I think that he's absolutely going to play. I think he's largely going to look like himself, but, is the mobility limited? And then does that have a domino effect on the rest of the offense?
All right, Tim, let's talk about the other quarterback then, Jaden Daniels on the other side of the ball. I was a little surprised in the last matchup that Vic Fangio decided to go out of character a little bit, and he blitzed him like crazy. And Jaden Daniels had a lot of success against the blitz, and then you saw the Lions try to blitz him last week, and he had a lot of success. What are you expecting Fangio to do on Sunday?
Yeah, it's interesting, and Mike referenced the piece that I wrote for this week on Fangio. I spoke with his former defensive coordinator, a guy that coached with him for 11 years, Ed Donatel, and he was talking about the shell concept that Fangio uses that's been very successful and sort of mimicked across the NFL. And he was talking about how great that is for traditional, non-running quarterbacks, I guess you would say. And he said it's a different thing when you have a running quarterback. The dynamic switches. In other words, it's not as effective, and you have to scheme up other ways to slow a guy like Jaden Daniels down. And you've seen quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson have had success against Fangio defenses in the past. He did a good job against them for the most part this year, but we've also seen Jackson go off for 5 touchdowns against them. So I guess the overall structure of the defense is not quite as effective. I think that you need to mix things up, which is part of what Fangio is really good at, is trying to throw quarterbacks out of their rhythm. And here you have a rookie quarterback on a heater. I think he's going to have to present different looks. And it's not going to be just one answer, Bill. I think it's going to be he's going to heat him up sometimes with the blitz. Sometimes he's going to pull back. He's going to have to mix in man and zone to do the best that he can to at least give Daniels like a seed of doubt when he's dropping back as to what he's going to see and whether there's going to be somebody coming off of the edge or whether it's going to be a straight four-man press or whether there's going to be a stunt with Jalen Carter coming free. Like, I think it's just a matter of, for a quarterback who just seems so unflappable, just doing your best to throw him off of rhythm as much as you can.
Tim, I know this was asked to Sirianni. I didn't quite get the answer, but he was not nominated for NFL Coach of the Year. And I go, well, listen, I don't lead the Sirianni cheers here. That's my partner does that. But I find it hard to believe that he wasn't even a nominee. And I know the field was crowded. But what was his reaction to that? Any at all?
His reaction was basically like, I don't care. If we win this game, we're going to the Super Bowl, and that's pretty dope. Like, that's what he said.
Yeah. And he made a Jerry Maguire reference, too.
He did. You're not going to make me cry, Roy. Yeah, he used one of those as well. So, I honestly don't think it's like something that's top of mind. I mean, they've been on this sort of charge all season long to wipe away sort of the sins of 2023 and get back to a dance that, they got denied from in 2022. So they've been pretty locked in on that. I think that it works against them that his roster is so good. I mean, some of these other guys that they're going against, it's like maybe you didn't have high aspirations for them from a personnel standpoint, and then they end up getting into the postseason. Like, I think that usually goes further in these Coach of the Year things than the guys who have great teams. But I don't think he really cares.
Yeah, I get that, but my feel is that he still, what holds people back from him, even now? And you just put out a reason that his roster's so good. Yeah, I get it, but they had to recreate that defense this year. I don't think anybody was expecting that the Eagles would be this good, but they are, and usually the coach gets credit for that.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. But, I guess the flip side is that, Fangio probably gets most of the credit, rightfully so, for the turnaround on the defensive side of the ball. And people know from, what he said in reporting that Kellen Moore is in charge of the offense. And so, his role has been more of that CEO overarching coach. But he's answered a lot of questions this year, man. I mean, obviously he's had these guys in the right mindset all year long. Adversity has come and hit this team at different points, and they've responded well to it. So he's not going to get the award, but he's definitely deserves a lot of credit.
I don't think Mike asked you about this. Joe Witt Jr., defensive coordinator for the Commanders, comes out and says, we're going to hit Jalen Hurts like he's a running back. I thought it was a mistake. I thought that he signaled to the referees, hey, you better be on the lookout to throw that personal foul if we hit the quarterback late. I mean, what was your take on that whole situation?
No, that's a good point. I didn't even think about it from the referee standpoint, but that does put them on alert to a certain extent. And I just don't think that this is a team that you want to give anything to. Like, if I just being around this team, like if I were facing them, I would say nothing to the media, nothing. I wouldn't give them, an ounce of extra motivation. So it may have been a misstep from that perspective as well. But the general reaction around here is like, well, of course, like, yeah, if a quarterback turns into a runner, you're going to treat that quarterback like a runner. So I don't think that Witt said anything revelatory. It's just a matter of, like, did you need to say it? Does it actually serve you any good? And I think the answer is no to that.
All right, sounds good. I always ask you for the prediction. I haven't wavered all week. I just think they're so much better than the Commanders coming in, and it would really take a genie bottle for the Commanders to walk out there with a win. But how do you see the final here?
Well, so here's the mistake that I'll admit to from 2017. I picked the Vikings in the NFC Championship game, right? Uh-huh. And then I pulled into the parking lot, and I was in the parking lot for 2 minutes, and I said, oh my God, I got that way wrong. 3 hours before the game, I'm like, the Eagles are going to win this game. Like, there was no way in that environment the Vikings were coming in and beating the Eagles. And now you have an NFC East rival that's coming in for an NFC title game. I've learned my lesson. I know that the link is going to be on absolute, highest energy. Nicky Foles is the honorary captain. You know, the vibes will be good. And the Eagles.
Let's make some noise. Come on.
There it is. You know, beyond all that stuff, you know, the Eagles do have the better roster. They have a suffocating defense. They're going against, you know, what's proven to be just an absolute stud of a quarterback who's going to make his name and his presence felt in this game. I don't think it's going to be a walk away, but I'm going to go 27-24 Eagles to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl.
All righty. There it is. Tim McManus covering the Eagles for ESPN.com. Tim, have a great experience, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds good, guys. See ya.
Tim McManus from ESPN.com joining us every Friday.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out our video. If you want more from the Mike Missanelli Show, somewhere on this screen, there is somewhere where you can hit the playlist. Keep interacting with us.